What's up, everybody? Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Conversations with a Martial Artist. My guest today is Dan Vinni, a true professional fighter. He's fought in many different disciplines and styles. He's a Brazilian Jiu Jitsu black belt, former professional MMA fighter, and now professional bare knuckle boxer. I've had the privilege to train with him and learn from him and pick his brains for a little while. Super fascinating guy, lived all over the world, trained with a number of people in a number of fantastic places around the world. Loads of fascinating insights. I really think you guys are going to enjoy this episode. Before we get started, make sure that you drop us a follow at CWAMA podcast on all platforms, wherever you like. Don't forget to subscribe, like it, and share it with other martial artists. And all of Dan's details as well are going to be in the details, so please do show him some thanks for his time. Completely free of charge. Drop him a follow. It can't hurt. And in the meantime, I will keep quiet and let you guys listen to Dan and some of his insights. Thanks. In which case, Dan, thank you very much for being here and giving up a load of your time today as well. It's been good fun.
No, you helped me with some stuff, concepts, and training that.
We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see how it works. But I said that before. Like, if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't.
I'm really pleased actually to have you on, and when you reached out, it was awesome because I've wanted to speak to someone about bare knuckle specifically because it's such a big growing thing at the moment. I think there's such a niche art to it in itself. But you obviously have like a crazy background actually of like loads of different martial arts. So I thought maybe as a bit of an intro to anyone watching, it might be easier to start there and talk a little bit about your sort of career and your background in martial arts.
Yeah, for sure. Like the way I started into this was with pro wrestling. Like I've told this story before, like I was into WWF at the time and I really wanted to do that. And it wasn't possible back in the early 2000s, mid 2000s.
And that's here as well.
Yeah, in London. There wasn't wrestling schools, there wasn't options, So I saw UFC 5 because they had Ken Shamrock and Dan the Beast Severn, which were both WWE wrestlers in. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna try that because it's the same. It looks like wrestling. It'll work. So I found a show. I found an event that was looking for MMA fighters and stuff. So I messaged them. I said, yeah, I'm 18. I have this many fights. Like it'll be cool. I'll fight whoever. So I go to the event, and it was a guy who was like 32 and trained, and he like beat me up. Beat me up really bad. Like he and it was one of those like it was like a sports karate type thing, and on the side they had
there's just a random mat in the corner.
Exactly, and it was I don't think it was supposed to be headshots, but then the guy hit me with an elbow.
Headshots, sure. Yeah.
And then he took me down and broke my arm, and that was the start. And then from there, like I just kind of stuck with it in one way or the other, Like I don't even really know why, but yeah, and I've stayed that since 15, to now.
And always training. And you've done a lot of that because you're jiu-jitsu black belt as well, obviously, in loads of fights in various disciplines as well, actually. Right?
Yeah, because maybe I feel like in retrospect, I was looking at the sport 5 years before what it was at that time, if that makes sense. Like I was still watching UFC 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever, in 2006 or something like, you know what I mean? So like I always kind of like approached it as you do these separate sports. Like the argument now, there's a discussion about doing other sports for MMA, But it was like, yeah, I'm gonna do whatever. If I do jiu-jitsu, it's to do MMA, but I can still do jiu-jitsu. Yeah. If I'm doing boxing or kickboxing, it's for MMA, but I can still box and kickbox. So it was always like I'm gonna compete as much stuff as I can, and that's just how it worked. Like now, there's enough competitions and there's enough speciality or specificity in the sport to where guys just don't go and I'll do a points kickboxing competition just to stay busy. You don't need to. There are amateur comps every week, and but that's what it was then. Like in retrospect now, I don't know if it was as an athlete, as a professional athlete, I don't think it's the smartest route. Like I think you should focus on the sport. The sport
that you want to do.
Like it doesn't make sense to take the time out to go and box or whatever when this is what you're doing. But I know some people disagree with that. Ilia Topuria, I think, trains boxing.
Yeah, he's very yeah.
And GSP used to do it like that. So I'm not going to argue with those guys. But yeah.
Yeah, I've thought about that a lot as well, to be fair, because I'm sort of the same thing. Like when I'm studying a art, I'm like at that class, I'm looking at that art, and then in my own time, I will figure out what I want to put in where, and if I want to make it MMA focused or whatever. But I definitely find I'm like, actually, how much time do I waste just like doing a drill that's only going to be good for, you know, that style of fighting versus another.
You know, and if you're trying to build, we talked about social media before already, you know, like if you're trying to build a brand and stuff, and let's say you're not so good at one or the other, so you're trying to build yourself as this famous MMA guy, and then you get messed up in boxing.
Yeah.
It kind of lessens your worth now, right? Because it's like, well, we've seen him get fucked up by somebody. So, you know, it doesn't necessarily, it's not good for brand unless you're smashing everyone at everything.
Yeah.
Then it's different.
In which case, you're probably a phenom anyway.
Exactly. You know, so yeah, I don't think it makes too much sense anymore, because MMA is its own sport. It's not mixed martial arts. It's MMA. You know, you can go and train MMA, like, as opposed to having to break it up and do your own thing.
Yeah. But a lot of schools still train it that way, don't they? It's like, I'm training at an MMA school, but, you know, 10 a.m. is jiu-jitsu class, and then it's kickboxing class, and then blah, 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 blah.
I think Goat Shed in the US is the only, like, they're quite, we just do MMA. So if they do a boxing class, it's boxing for MMA. I think that makes the most sense numbers-wise. Like, if you're doing the individual styles and you have a freak athlete and they're really fast to pick things up, that's probably the best way. But for average people, like, if you want to do MMA, you train MMA. I think that makes the most sense, because like that transition, like you said, you spend that time trying to break it down. You know, let's say I learned how to box like this, but for MMA, I need my hands a little lower to defend takedowns. So what would you do?
Yeah.
You know, do you not just throw all your jab from your hands being a little bit lower, which probably makes sense for what your sport is? Or do you say, no, I'm going to figure it out myself? Like, whatever you do in the gym and your training is what you're going to do in a fight.
Yeah.
At best.
You're
not going to fill in. Yeah, you're not going to fill in blanks and it's going to work because I filled in the blanks. Like, but again, some top guys would disagree with me as well. So it's.
Yeah, well, that's one of them things that like people go round and round the houses with arguments about that. Like, there's probably never going to be a clear like, this is the answer, because there will always be some exception somewhere of it. Like say the Ilia Taborias of the world,
for sure,
will be just tearing stuff up. But how do you find that? Because obviously you've been all around the globe. We were talking about it earlier. Obviously, you've lived sort of all around the world. Have you always been training while you've been going around? Like,
yeah, like luckily for me, this gave me that opportunity. You know what I mean? Like, the first place I ever moved to was to coach. You know what I mean? I went to the Philippines to coach, and then you know, there was a job, and people would pay for my flight. So then I would come back, and like everywhere, like I met my wife through being in a place that I was there to coach. So it's like I've been able to travel with this, and I think we talked about it. It's money in the miles. I think Shale Sonnen likes to say, like, if you're able to go see stuff and travel with this, then cool.
Yeah, that's phenomenal.
If you're making money, great. But the chance of one or the other, or probably not both. But yeah, no. So I've been really lucky. I've been able to travel, and at the end of the day, like, that's stories I can tell my grandkids and all that sort of stuff.
And is there like a fairly consistent standard around the world from where you've been?
I think the biggest thing that people need to realize is it's numbers in the room, in my opinion.
Okay.
You know, like, everyone's kind of doing the same thing. You know, like, if you have YouTube and whatever else,
there's access to that same information, isn't it?
Exactly. So it's not like, it's what's the difference between a group of guys over here and a group of guys over there. Like, rarely you might have a John Danaher in your group, but outside of that, it's like, okay, are you being tested in the room? Like, do you have one training partner to train with? Let's change it. I have 5 guys come to my class. Maybe 1 is good. Maybe 3 are okay. 1's, trash. I have 50 guys come to my room. Maybe 10 are good.
Yeah, right.
So automatically those numbers are going to push the guys up. So like, I think overall, as long as the numbers are there and people want to train, like, it's all kind of consistent. You know what I mean? Like,
that's interesting. Yeah.
Like, if you look at Vietnam, for example, like, I was there in the beginning, and yeah, it was trash. But like, they picked up now in regards to jiu-jitsu because people are training jiu-jitsu. You know, the original guys that are in a class of 5, like, they're not going to improve as fast as guys who have classes of 10. So yeah, it's been pretty standard now.
Yeah, I often wonder about that because people talk about it all the time. Like, obviously, like, some areas will have better benefits for others. Like, people talk about, like, who was it that was talking recently? There's no wrestling in the UK. it's that sort of thing where there are obviously areas that are better than others at certain things. But I wonder, as we say, sort of MMA is its own thing now, like how consistent that is across the world.
Yeah, and UK didn't have wrestling or doesn't have wrestling because we don't have it in schools. We don't have the infrastructure. So yeah, we don't have the guys wrestling. But you can see now guys are able to wrestle to that caliber in the UFC because they found guys. They went and trained with guys, and the level picked up, and that's just how that is, Like there are intricacies that a world-class coach can tell you about a double leg that I can't tell you.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
But a double leg's a double leg, and if you do enough of them, like it's still a double leg.
Yeah, and also I suppose there's an argument. Right, brief technical difficulties there, interlude. We'll start again. So I was saying, I think we got cut off just before we were talking about the standard around the world. That's fairly similar, and that sort of the ratios, it's sort of bodies in the room is the main factor. But we then started talking about your career and your sort of development, going from MMA into bare knuckle, because that's quite a niche. How did you find that?
So I was offered the fight on BKFC. That was the first one. I don't remember how that come about, but it was what it was. And I just looked at it as, old MMA guys, let's go do bare knuckle, towards the end of the career. So I was like, yeah, why not? Let's do that. And it was the first show they had in the UK, and it was in Wembley.
Oh, it was the UK one, was it?
Yeah.
I almost bought tickets to that. Gutted.
But it was nice. It was a nice event, and it was cool to be part of that first show in the UK. I'm on that. But like training wise, we talked about it in the sense of it's 2 MMA for boxing, it's 2 boxing for MMA. Like if I go to somebody's gym and ask to do bare knuckle in an MMA gym, where it's like, okay, you can't kick me and don't take me down, and don't knee me, but I'm gonna punch you and clinch. It ruins training for them, unless they're specifically into that too. And if you go to a boxing gym, it's like, I'm going to clinch you and I'm going to throw you around, and I only want to do 2-minute rounds, then it's affecting their training as well. So it is hard for me to find training, overall training place to really get the work. But yeah, you can do it. And as we talked about, like, I'm a bit of a nerd into technique and what could work and what couldn't work and how that works. So that's an extra maybe little added difficulty I have. But yeah. No.
But I mean, again, going into that is like, I think we've been talking about, there's so much opportunity there because it's such a growing sport, right? That, I mean, even a few years ago, no one hears anything. But again, the promo like that BKFC have done is massive, and it's definitely up and coming. It's going to continue to get bigger for a little bit, I think.
Yeah, for sure.
But I think there's so much unexplored like avenues, like we've been working on this morning, that maybe some of it is dog shit, maybe some of it's great, but I think there's definitely some room to come and have some variety, because we were talking about earlier, like people are just like, it's just brawlers, isn't it? It's like people are coming in and just throwing.
But it's like anything, like you can see the intricacies in things that, I don't know. I had a really like questioning everything moment where it was like, okay, is this its own thing? Am I just over romanticizing it and putting things into places where they shouldn't be? And we talked about the correlation with like martial arts. Traditional martial arts are guilty of doing this. Either they're not tested by fights and they fill in the blanks, or they put certain caveats into the
like how they train,
and we have to do it like this because maybe he starts biting me or something. So it's your, what's the perception is reality type deal. Like it depends how you want to look at it. But I think it's a fan-friendly sport, and it is doing big things. BKB, the organization I'm signed for, treat the fighters really well, and they're doing a lot of international events here and in the US.
I was gonna say, I think I've seen them. They're up north somewhere as well, are they?
So yeah, they're doing good things. Like I think the next show they have is in Wales, maybe London. And yeah, like it's good, and having guys that are pushing the sport is what you need, obviously, for it to be a thing outside of hay bales and whatever the stuff it used to be, fights in fields. But yeah, it's something I still am interested. I still have these weird feelings now connected to the last fight I had, which we can get into if you want. But yeah, I'm still interested in it.
And there's still a way to go with it as well.
Sure.
I think one thing when we got cut off, we were talking about is actually what the training looks like, because as you were saying, it's really hard to find that middle ground because it's just different enough from boxing that you can't really just box. But as you say, with MMA, it's difficult as well. So what does your training actually look like? Do you tend to just do regular boxing sparring rounds with gloves, I'm assuming, and that sort of thing?
Yeah, again, it's who can you find? You know, like if you find some mostly MMA guys, they'll be willing to do it with MMA sparring gloves, so you can still clinch. So yeah, you know, and again, you want it as comparable with the sport as it is, right? So yeah, if you're getting used to Philly shelling and whatever with big gloves on, like that was something that definitely not caught me off guard, but I was punished for. I thought I was covered like this.
Yeah,
I wasn't covered like this, you know. So you have to get those reps and find what works, you know. And kind of my argument about MMA now, you know, like we talked about, MMA now is its own sport. Everyone knows what it is. Everyone has that meta of I do this, and that's what kind of made it boring for me. Yeah. But at the same time, bare knuckle there are those rules there. You just need to figure them out. For example, like I was doing a lot of what I supposed to be Wing Chun defense, like where I'm doing my elbow and keeping up here and throwing shots off of that. And maybe that works in some situations, maybe it doesn't. But it's fun trying to find out.
It's something, isn't it? Yeah, you've got to explore it to actually figure out where, because everyone's got the theory. Like we've been talking a lot this morning about like the theory of it. And I'm the first to admit, you know, I'm no bare knuckle boxer. I don't have the same insights that you do. So hopefully you can take some of that theory and then you will be able to work out, actually, that's a bit shit. That's okay. I like that, but in this different context, that sort of thing.
Sure, exactly.
But yeah, there's definitely a lot of growth, I think, for the sport and for you to be able to like play with that and put a bit of a stamp on it, right?
Yeah. And that's it. And as I said, I don't want to pigeonhole it as old MMA guys do bare knuckle, because it's not. Like now it's attracting, you know, younger guys that are just starting a career in bare knuckle, you know, because the money.
I saw some like 16-year-old or something had been signed with a UK thing here for like his pro fight, and he'd had like 2 white collar boxing bouts or something, and I was like, Jesus Christ! I mean, fair play.
And you know, and it, like we talked about, it is less brain trauma. You know, it's risk and reward. You do get cut more. You do maybe have some fractures more so than in the other thing, but it is safer for your brain. As much as getting punched by anything is safe for your brain. But yeah, you know, kids are starting in it now. Like guys are starting their bare knuckle career in the beginning. So there's that. But because of the way it is still, I know I can get to a world title in 3 fights. You know what I mean? I have to win those fights, but I know I can do it. So it's still something, you know, that intrigues me. You know, I don't know if that's kind of like an out in the sense of I can be a world champion in a niche sport that isn't the same situation, but it is what it is, right? Like
but it's still hard earned. Like that, none of those bare knuckle fights are like an easy fight, is it? Like you can catch in MMA, you can have a relatively easy fight. You can catch someone, or you can choke someone pretty cleanly without taking much damage. Bare knuckle, like the first punch, and you're gonna get hit. Like every fight, you're gonna get hit.
For sure.
You're like nothing is as fun.
But even the hitting guy, like I hit a guy and I cut my knuckle on his tooth, and my hand blew up and got infected and that was me hitting him.
Yeah.
So like so yeah, it's gonna be rough. But you know, I kind of think that's kind of an intriguing part of it for me as well. Like I don't want to say the toughest of the tough do that, but it's like there are some really tough guys that won't touch it. Now, is it because it's stupid? Maybe, but they're not willing to do that. And if you are, then you're a different caliber. I'm not saying higher or better, or you're a different caliber person, and that's fine for some people, you know. Yeah,
it's definitely a more niche thing. Like there's so many like MMA fighters that you're not accusing them of not being tough, but that would not look at it, and
for sure,
rightly so.
And, I mean, it's and it was at least for me a progression of like when I was younger and when I was working security and stuff. It was I'm an MMA fighter or whatever, and they weren't, but they were lying about that. I don't see many people now lying about being an MMA fighter because it's easy to check.
Yeah.
Put your name on Google and you can see. But now I think it's kind of I'm a bare knuckle guy, and that's gonna kind of maybe peak at some point, and it'll be I'm a no rules guy.
Yeah.
Or I'm a knife fighter guy.
Yeah.
Whatever it might be. like guys are going to want to think, and it is a bit extreme, and that's fine. You know?
Yeah, but that's part of the fun of it as well.
Exactly.
I mean, at the end of the day, as much as we like, obviously, the sort of technical elements of it, it is still a spectator sport. It's still an entertainment sport. And like you were saying, I don't know if it actually made it into the last cut or not, but it is like a certain type of audience member that wants that. And it is fucking entertaining.
Yeah, that's it. And, you know, like I had a love-hate relationship with fans, you know, because I guess I'm a fan too, but it's like, you know, I see a lot, and we could segue really off topic with that, but like the guys that support the sport, when your support is negative, is a strange like there are people that will watch to see someone get hurt or to make fun of fighters and stuff like that.
Oh, this guy's so shit. I can't wait to see him get smashed.
And that's really weird. Like to bring that energy, again, I'm kind of zen in my old age now, but like to bring that to something is kind of weird.
Yeah, that is a bit. I've never really understood. I get having fighters you like and you don't like and whatever, but to be actively like, well, I can't wait. But again, the business is sort of built on that idea of, well, do you want to see this guy get smashed?
True. And it goes to Jake Paul and why guys need to work on their social media, because if you have interest outside of the fight, fights are fights. Like, you know, if someone doesn't know anything about fights, it's a fight in the car park. Like it's world championship level. It's the same. We put that extra, you know, art to it, or nuance, or, you know, kind of lost where I was going with that, but
no, but you're right. I get what you mean in that, like, it's the people that are in the know about those things, they build up a lot more. Like you and I can have a conversation about, oh well, this guy's so technical with the way he sets up his kicks and da. Whereas you're quite right. Like to an average, someone that's I just enjoy watching the fights. I don't know anything about martial arts or whatever. It's like, yeah, you're whether that's two guys in the biggest stage in the world or two guys out there in the car park having a scrap. I don't know what I'm looking at. I'm just enjoying the back and forth or whatever's happening.
For sure. But yeah, you know, I think that's where I was going. If you build your brand before, if people are interested in seeing you fight, win or lose, and go, Jake Paul, more people want to see him lose than they want to see him win.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, does that matter? Like, he's still making money.
It's working for him, isn't it?
You know. So yeah, you gotta bring those eyes. You gotta bring the money. You gotta bring followers. You know.
Yeah, and I suppose especially going back to bare knuckle, that's the sort of thing that matters a lot as a growing sport, and that's I guess why they're poaching so many like UFC fighters and MMA guys that sort of coming out of their like peak MMA career.
For sure.
Perfect.
And I think if you look at, again, just bringing up the two companies, because in bare knuckle at least there is BKFC and BKB. You know, that's kind of how it is. In my opinion, if you look at BKFC, they're focusing on the spectacle of having ex-UFC guys and famous guys, where BKB is kind of trying, in my opinion, trying to grow the sport with even fights, with fights that make sense, with guys with roots to titles and stuff like that. So I feel like they're approaching it in a more sport versus spectacle kind of way, you know? But it is what it is, you know. Like would I want my kid doing? No. Yeah. But you know, I find the art in it, and I have those little nuances, and that's what's interesting to me. You know?
Yeah. And how about the actual training? Like, obviously, there's a few things that sound like a bit of a shock to the system when you're adjusting. With the physical, like, on your fist, have you had to do much adjustment there? Because I know there's all sorts of hardening and things people do.
Yeah.
Did you find any of that sort of stuff?
Like the whole dip your hands in petrol.
Yeah, that's a bit far.
And you know, there's loads of gimmicky stuff.
Yeah.
But again, no, like personally, like I just did the same training. Like I still think most of it's the same. Like do a couple rounds without gloves, maybe. And again, depends on how deep you want to get it. Like I think I was talking about vertical fist versus horizontal fist and those sort of things is interesting. But again, conditioning, fight to fight. I tried to be somewhat nuanced with it and trying to apply specific things like vertical fists. I think it makes sense as like let's say you don't have as much tape, or you have to be specific on where you're trying to land it on the fist. So you know, I try and figure those things. But training, right? Get in shape, focus on the sport.
And do you largely sort of coach yourself for it, or have you got like a bare knuckle specific like mentor or someone to help you, or are you sort of workshopping it?
Yeah, like
there's not many experts there, really, is there?
For sure. Like, and this is why I kind of wanted to find the Wing Chun like aspect, because again, I feel like there's some application, and there's someone, because again, who's licensed to do this? Who's licensed to give you advice? Like the most veteran guys in bare knuckle might have 7 fights.
Yeah, I get it.
Maybe more or less, but you know what I mean. So it's like, who'd you go to? And I don't have those opportunities in the UAE, so I've done most of my work, on my own, which I'm trying to figure out. But like I had a good boxing coach in Ricardo Rizzo, and he was helping. But again, it's we were trying to figure out stuff on the fly, But,
yeah, I guess there must be a lot of that, because that's the thing. You're quite right. I hadn't thought about it, but the most experienced guys in the world, you're right, only have like a handful of fights.
For sure.
And it's like, yeah, where do you get that from? You need to either find some like granddad somewhere deep up north who's been like scrapping scrapping in parks for like 30 years, or take some ideas from somewhere else and play with it and sort of figure it out, right?
And and we spoke about that, like where guys can really zone in on something and it's not real. And it becomes their Tai Chi powers or shooting Chi energy and stuff like that. Like you can over focus on something and it become lost, But yeah, I try and put it together. And as I said, I'm still in this will I, won't I kind of thing. Maybe I'll come back, maybe I won't. So the goal is to find that and have that first, and then I'm going to start looking for fights, But I'm hoping this year. If I can't get one by this year, I'm done,
Yeah, fair enough. Does it take long to like prep? Do you still go like full fight camps and things, or you just?
So I never really did fight camps.
Okay.
Like I would use it maybe as a justification to go somewhere.
Sure.
I've got friends in Denmark. Let me go do a camp.
Yeah.
I never really did it. That doesn't mean you shouldn't. Obviously, you know what I mean? But like, I never really focused on it. I think training's training for the most part. Like, and unless you're making tons of money, everyone's still doing other stuff, coaching or working or whatever. So you're only focusing 2 hours of your day on it. What's a camp for 2 hours?
Yeah,
3 hours,
right.
hours,
You've got to be properly obsessed.
Yeah, but I think guys overdo it. Like you're training max 4 hours a day.
Yeah.
What's a camp for that? Like go do your training and then go live your life.
Yeah, squeeze it in.
But again, I suffered for that. Stupid decision. So there's a balance. I'm not telling you to do it that way.
But I guess again, you were saying earlier, you're quite similar in that you do a lot of light, regular, like not hard sparring all the time, and it's just consistent. It means you can keep turning up and keep doing stuff.
Exactly.
You pick that up. You're doing the same volume of work, just spread out, right?
I think that's kind of an argument for the Soviet system. You know what I mean? Where they don't push failure. Obviously, that's conditioning to a degree, but like you don't push the failure. You don't go overly, because again, you can't make that work. If compound interest is a thing, right? So I think just kind of being consistent and not blowing up, not getting injured. I think that makes the most sense.
Yeah, the injured thing is the biggest. Like that's the biggest hazard of the fight camp. Like how many fights end up pulling out across all sports because they're like, right, I'm getting ready for this and blah 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 blah.
Sure.
But yeah, it's not an easy one to solve. And again, just like we were saying earlier, that's one where I'm sure everyone's got a slightly different opinion on it at different times.
And it depends on what stages you are in your life. Like we spoke about that earlier too. And if you're an older guy that's already had some kind of career, maybe you can't, or you don't want to put that sort of effort into this thing. Well, not effort. Effort's the wrong phrase, right? But you've got to find a balance and do what you can do.
And in terms of the bare knuckle progression, I know you touched on it earlier as well. We were speaking off camera about this, but we were talking about it being such a recent sport that actually it is something that you can fight your way up. And I mean, you mentioned earlier, obviously, you're probably like, three fights away at any given time from being able to challenge for a title, because it's such a growing sport and it's such a good opportunity.
Yeah.
Like, what are your thoughts on how you would see that? Is that always the case where
I think so, because again, at this stage of my career where it's like, okay, I'm on the way out, and I've been in the twilight of my career for like 10 years now, so it's eventually I'll get there. But like being world champion has a strange connotation, not strange, but has a weird connotation to me, in the sense of I won a belt in an MMA fight that was called a world championship. one of the comments on a post from the thing was, it's not a world championship. Now that hurt my feelings, right?
Yeah.
Now please don't use this excuse to bully me, because you know it hurts my feelings. But like, that hurt my feelings in the sense of, okay, it's not. But you didn't need to say it.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, what's the world championship? You know, in MMA, at least it's the UFC. And if it's not in the UFC, it probably doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But Bareknuckle
Still good accolades.
For sure. You know, and we spoke about the reason why I maybe can mental gymnastics this into a title, because I know I'm 2 to 3 fights away from it. If I win impressively, I'll probably get there, you know. And, you know, the motivation of the kid thing, which we, you know, maybe I mentioned. Yeah, but, you know, I still want to do it. And mostly there was a story with me and my wife where, do I go into the whole bullying?
Yeah, if you want, up to you, man.
But no,
I enjoyed it. It's a good story.
All right, I'll tell you the story. So, school in Dubai. Oh no, maybe I can't say that because I don't want to get sued by the UAE.
If it helps, I don't know if they're watching.
Okay, so there was a school where the kids in the school Googled the parents. So they said there's a group of 5 kids. You Google the parents, LinkedIn, Facebook, whatever. The one who makes the least amount of money through the jobs in there gets bullied. And me and my wife was like, okay, well, we're never going to have the most money. But maybe if they Google us, like, and you're a fighter, they won't fuck with the kid. So I was like, that's true. But if I was bare knuckle boxing world champion, the likelihood of them bullying my kid is definitely less. So I'm like, okay, one more run. So 2 more fights. But I don't know. I need to be there. I need to get over a lot of stuff from the last fight and really put everything into it to what I can and really make a goal, you know. Otherwise, it's just going to keep being more regret. And why didn't I do this? And why didn't I do that?
Yeah.
You know.
And it's hard to have that sort of, but again, we were talking earlier, but it's hard to have that sort of perfect camp and that perfect idea, that perfect fight.
It doesn't exist.
Yeah.
It doesn't, like, the camp thing doesn't exist. Like, the fact that everyone says, oh, I'm beat up, you go in fights injured and stuff. It's like, there's so much to this. And this is why it's kind of, it's weird because you see guys and they lose and then everyone else is like, they suck.
Yeah.
And it's like, you don't know, like, how it could have went on a Monday versus a Tuesday even. It's like, and there's so much little insignificant stuff that might throw you off. You know, like, you get a message and it hurts your feelings and now it's like, oh, I don't want to fight. Or there's so much that can fuck up that one moment at that one time. It's not like you get judged in your job where you work 5 days a week for, you know, however many days a year. That's what you get judged on, as an accumulation. One fight is one fight.
Yeah.
You know, and I've had fights where I was supposed to win and I lost, and I had fights I was supposed to lose and won. And why is that, you know?
Yeah, it's just such an unknown, like, variable, isn't it? But that's what's so entertaining about it as a sport as well. Frustrating as hell as an athlete, I'm sure.
For sure. But I think it's again, I'm not trying to be the moral guy, but like, Japanese culture, right, with pride was, even if you lost, if you put on a good show and you did well, you'll come back and you'll make money, and the fans respect you regardless. And in the West, I don't know if that's a thing.
No, I don't know. Yeah.
You know? And it's like, and I'm not saying reward losers, but like, reward effort, reward, you know, that sort of stuff. Because again, like, you could have a good fight today and a bad fight tomorrow, maybe the best fight ever in the further one. But if you don't go there, you don't get there because people are making fun of you, and then you've lost that, you know?
Yeah.
So like, I don't know. And it's a weird thing to where before, at least you could say, okay, I respect guys who fight just because they fight. Now it's a problem because you have so many influences. You have so many guys that you can't respect.
They sort of polluted it a bit.
Yeah, so it's kind of a weird one. Like, maybe it wasn't what we thought it was. Just fighting is just fighting. You know what I mean? I don't know.
You can sort of grit your teeth and get to it.
Yeah, so right? Should it be respected or should it not? You know what I mean? Should I give you respect for doing that or not? Because you're still a terrible person to do this thing.
Yeah.
I don't know. You know, I don't want to give this something too much worth than it needs, you know, than it deserves, rather. But but long story short, don't disrespect people. Don't, like, if they.
Well, I was going to say, you don't want that to take away from the actual, like, the pros that have put their life's work into it. Like, that's one of the thing I go back and forth on the influencer thing as well, because it's like, how much are you, like, do you know what, fair crack for that? They might be an absolute piece of shit, but fair crack for getting in there. But at the same time, it's like, did you do anything? Like, the guys that are in Bellator, UFC, like, pro pro fighters, they're dedicating their fucking lives to this thing. And it's like, I don't know, are you just some guy from TikTok or whatever that has done for 3 months of just boxing and you've got a really comfortable life and you fight? It's like, I don't know. The respect comes from sort of the years of the grind and the study of the art itself, right?
Yeah. Well, we had brought up Andrew Tate.
Mm.
You know, Andrew Tate's a crazy one in the sense of, you know, like you and me both knew that he was a world champion at some point and he was really good. And I knew people that sparred with him and that he said, no, he's legit and he punched really hard and does this and that. And now that he lost to that fight, that, you know, we said he shouldn't have lost to, people are questioning his whole thing.
Yeah.
And it's like, where do people even get the nerve to do that? But like, I don't know. I don't know. Like, respect's respect. Like, you've got to respect everybody, I guess.
Yeah.
But like, the levels that some people go to tear people down, it's just confusing to me. And I'm trying not to seem like a, what's the word, snowflake.
Yeah.
Feelings are important because, you know. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe you just caught me on that day. Be nice to each other.
Yeah. But you are right. And that's the thing. It's like some people, I think particularly fans, I can imagine as a professional athlete that's been in there and like had all these like fucking wars and things to come out and have like some absolute bum that's like, you know, some huge fat bloke that's never done a day of anything in his life be like, oh my God, this guy's so shit. Like, that would drive you mental. No matter how like zen you are and how like chill or control over your ego you've got, I'd be like, fuck.
100%. Like, you can go deeper and be like, yo, it just shows that the loneliness of society now, to where people feel like the only interaction they have is by being negative and calling you about work. Because maybe you're messing with me. Because I've had that as well. Like, I had guys that, again, I'm nobody, man, but like, I've had guys that every time I'd be mentioned on something, they would come in and talk shit. And there wouldn't be a lot to talk shit about, but it would just be like, fuck that guy. And I didn't do it. We didn't communicate till one time I did, and I was like, well, what's up? And he was like, oh, no, nothing, we're cool, I'm a big fan. I'm like, you're not. Like, and it was just, and then the only explanation I can have is that he was just a bit lonely.
Yeah.
And was just looking for something.
Just getting obsessed with some like interaction.
Yeah. And it's just like, okay, I can give you that. Like, we're cool. Like, at the end of the day, like, it doesn't matter either way, but like, yeah, people are just sad.
Yeah.
And like, again, I don't want to seem like a Zen snowflake type guy, but like, yeah, just be cool and help each other. And I don't know.
And if that guy's watching this, fuck you.
No, I know he will. And it's just like, and I said one time, bro, what the fuck is wrong with you? And but then just at the end of the day, just because you spoke to them, just because you called it out, like, that was enough.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Of course, I could have come at a different way if I would have said, you're a dickhead. No, you're a dickhead.
But that's where you see it happens online, and it's that whole like online sphere, isn't it?
Yeah, and you know, people need to do better. Like, yeah, and then it goes back to this, like, guys need to get away from social media, and guys at the end of the career with this, and it's like it's a bit intoxicating having that. Even if you have a decent set around you, it's like, I want to get online and talk shit. I want to get online and discuss things, because otherwise, what is this for? And I don't want to sound nihilistic now either, but like, people are stuck with that. And I know people that have left the game and they still, they still post old stuff just to have that conversation. I don't know.
I guess it must be a really, and I mean, you'll be able to speak to it more than I can, but stepping away from that sort of thing must be such a hard thing to do.
Yeah, it is great. It's crazy, you know, in the sense of like, and I have a good life, you know, everything's cool, and I have a beautiful family, and I'm secure with, you know, finances and stuff. But like, what do you do now? And it's like, I mean, I don't know if I'm strange or not, in the sense of, I didn't particularly enjoy the fighting as much as I like the other stuff, like the stuff that comes after when you win and you post a picture and people like it and they comment, and like, that stuff is what I like. And that's a bit weird, I think. Like, I probably could have got that from something else where I didn't get punched in the face.
Yeah.
But
could have been a great juggler or something.
Exactly. Yeah, I should have done that. But that's kind of what I was liking out of it. And when you don't have that, it's a weird one, you know. And yeah, I'm in that thing now. Like, I retired last fight again, and then it's just like, maybe now. And are excuses reasons, or are they excuses? Like, where does it stop? And of course, because of the risk of this, when you stop because maybe you're punchy or there's a risk.
Yeah, big time.
I only know one person that really transitioned successfully. You know, a guy called Jack at Elevate. He went from MMA to powerlifting.
Yeah.
And he's the only guy I can say who never went back. You know, never made posts about old fights or whatever else. Like that's that, which I've never seen anyone else do.
Yeah.
You know, like I've seen so many people. In 1 week, 2 weeks ago, 3 people I know retired. And they all came back within a 4-week window. You know, not even 4 weeks, 3 weeks. Yeah. They all came back. They all started posting again. They all started talking about it again. Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of, it's sad and it's beautiful at the same time.
Yeah, it's funny that, isn't it, with MMA and that sort of thing, because it is such a hard thing to quit. And like, what could compare to that fighting, and like where else can you get that sort of recognition and things? So it must be addictive.
Yeah, and again, depending on what you like about it, you know, like I always held myself higher in regard than some of the people who just like fight, because I'm not like that. I have other personality problems that I need attention for, but like, yeah, whatever it is you like about it, can you find that somewhere else? Like, I'm not sure.
Well, one thing I have to say with you that I've been quite impressed with, and as I've sort of answered a question I had for you before having trained with you today, is you have a very unorthodox style, but you hold a lot more regard for like the technical and the detail and like some of the nuances than I think a lot of people, because a lot of people will get into MMA and you can be really good without knowing why, right? You can turn up, do what your coach says, be super athletic, like hit your punches clean, but you don't necessarily understand why that thing's working. Whereas you seem to have a very like technical brain for that stuff. And I've watched some of your fights as well. And you can see like you've got a very unorthodox style, right? Is that from a collection of different like playing around with stuff? Or?
Like I think it was just through poor decision making. Like I tried to do it on my own. I tried to, now I'm not going to get too deep into it, but like I had a lot of issues going to places and keeping routines and stuff. So yeah, I just kind of threw stuff together in how I could, and it kind of worked for me here and there. And I feel like it's improved me as a coach because I've had to fill in blanks and I can see what should be done and what shouldn't be done, and I can apply that to students and stuff. But yeah, I just kind of I threw it together and that's how it was,
But it's nice though, because again, like where you're going into this bare knuckle journey, you're very open. Like the amount of guys I can say that would ask about Wing Chun in it, I'm like, no one fucking hit me up for that, you know. Like, I don't know if you're a genius or you're an idiot.
Exactly. And I feel like there's a risk.
Yeah.
With, old school MMA guys where like I remember a guy called Howard who fought in UFC.
It's a great name.
Howard, yeah. And he said he was making up this style and he was going to bring karate back to jiu-jitsu, and if it works, it works. If it doesn't, and it didn't. And yeah, there's that balance, right? Of like we talked about guys in HEMA, where they over focus on a specific aspect of it, and then it can get lost or not, career. And I'm hoping it's the other way. I'm hoping I can find something, like if I can bring something to the sport in one way or the other, that would be enough as well. And even if I didn't get a world title, I could say that was kind of because of me.
Yeah.
That would be nice.
But that's often you see that even in MMA, right? People always introduce new things that then catch on and they become all the rage. Like the calf kicks is the big thing at the moment, and they're moving on again.
Like, yeah, it's all, I don't know if cyclical would be the right term, but like, for example, I remember from UFC 1 to UFC 13, it was no kicking. Because if you kick, you get taken down and submitted. And then, let's say, Maurice Smith leg kicked Mark Coleman and won a decision. So then there was like, okay, no, we can kick now, but again, maybe not above the waist. And then it slowly changed and it becomes something else. And like, even more base, strikers get beat by grapplers. And then a striker once, it's like, no, we can strike. And then like oblique kicks. Yeah. One guy threw that and it's the rage. Superman punches. I think GSP maybe started. That was like one of the first guys. Chris Thompson was one of the first guys to throw a Superman punch. And then everyone was throwing a Superman punch for like 5 years. And now it's calf kicks. But none of this is new.
No, that's it. All of these things exist in one or more martial arts, like
exactly
somewhere else.
So like that would be nice if I can find something like that without becoming full hammer and talk about like old random stuff. Like if I could bring one thing back, that would be cool.
Yeah.
But something I would be interested in that isn't, I don't think it's possible, would be London prize ring rules. So it's a slightly different, but it's like the first bare knuckle fights were done under those, which is they allowed upper body throws. Around ended when someone was knocked down. Maybe unlimited rounds.
Like the proper old school.
Yeah,
I remember they were doing that in the States quite a lot, like the Jack Dempsey stuff like that.
Yeah. So like I would like something like that just to see how it would go and influence the sport, because again, the rules and regulations of the sport dictate the evolution, so to speak.
Yeah.
So like that would be interesting, to see, because now let's say 2 to 3 minute rounds create how it needs to look. Let's say you have a 25-minute round. It's going to look different.
Very.
So like that interests me still, and that's what MMA was in the beginning. Like, and I don't want to offshot to Tapology, but Tapology was into the in the news recently for deciding people's records and stuff. But like when I started, MMA was MMA, and you had no holds barred or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
So like the rules in Japan were different from the rules in the US, and the rules in Russia were different from
it wasn't a unified rule set.
But it was all kind of the same thing, and that was fine. But now they're like they're making differentials between that, and it's like, okay, well, this is an MMA or this is, and I've lost fights on my record because of that. For example, I had a fight where it was 1 10-minute round, and then 1 5-minute round. But the first round you could soccer kick. The second round you couldn't. Like it was a weird, messed up thing, but for some reason that win isn't counted as MMA.
They decided this isn't MMA, this is its own thing.
Right, and it's like, what do we? So I don't know. Would it be a separate sport if we did a different rule thing? Maybe, maybe not. But like I'm interested in trying because it's a spectacle, and let's do some weird shit. Because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? No one's gonna care in 20 years whether you did this or did that.
Yeah.
So I'm still interested in that weird stuff. Like we talked about the knuckles bar stuff too.
Yeah. Some of that wild shit. I mean, you're a braver man than I am to ever even entertain that stuff. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it is crazy. And yeah, the different rule set thing is super interesting, how it dictates. One thing that I do love, which is coming up as well, sort of off the back of bare knuckle, is the dirty boxing stuff. Have you seen that? Mike Perry stuff? Yeah. That stuff looks super interesting to me. Like, that's a fun rule set.
Yeah. But again, it's what is it going to be? Because it's not its own martial art. So you don't have, the specific training for it. It has to be something that you go out and do yourself. And yeah, is it going to change? Because I know Karate Combat was kind of similar, and they started changing rules.
They've now sort of transitioned to basically MMA, right. With less ground fighting.
So yeah, where does it go? Like, and then how much do you stop? Like, for example, there are certain aspects of, say, MMA that I don't like. You know, so if I could, let's say, do MMA, but they can't kick me in the body or something, that would be great.
Yeah.
But like, is it its own sport or is it still MMA? And we talked about the difference between certain amateur rules, and those matchups, and whether it is all pro or should be all pro. Is there a difference from competing amateur to not?
That is quite an interesting point, actually. If you don't mind touching on that again, I know we were speaking about that a couple of hours ago now, but I did find that a really, really cool insight, actually, because, I'll let you take the wheel, but we were talking about the difference between the amateurs nowadays and pro fights.
Like when I started, I saw a lot of the amateur was no headshots whatsoever. Mm-hmm. Let's say no heel hooks or something like that. And then you would fight semi-pro, which is they add punches and kicks to the face, but there was no ground and pound for some reason, which is silly because ground and pound is the only differentiating feature of MMA, right? Everything else could be something else. And then there was pro. And now it's like amateur is basically pro, but no elbows, maybe no knees.
No knees to the head, yeah. I think that's pretty much the only thing.
And maybe a minute off a round.
Yeah, it's a shorter round. They're 3-minute rounds rather than 5, aren't they?
Which, to me is like if you're not getting paid. And if you're not getting paid, but you can also get knocked out still and get your arms and legs broken, it's kind of tough. Like, should it be a thing? And in retrospect, I know guys that have got to the UFC off of having extensive records, and also guys that have ended their career after just focusing on amateur and doing nothing with it. They never traveled anywhere, they never got paid. So what's it for? What did you achieve with it? But I don't know. I think now, as I've kind of sat and looked at other perspectives, I think, okay, you can have an amateur career, do the things that you need to do in amateur where it doesn't matter that much. You know, like I see some guys with 20-0 records amateur that have been, but they've been protected. So they fought the same guy 20 times, you know, in their gym with their rules and whatever else. Like, I think if you're going to really focus on having a career, maybe have fights where you lose one, have fights where you cut too much weight, not intentionally, but you know what I mean. Have fights where you traveled out of country. Have fights where, you know, you went up a weight class down, or something like that. Because then you've experienced those things, good or bad, and it doesn't really matter because it's not for a record. But again, I maybe I'm out of sync with it.
I really like that when you were saying that to me earlier. That's why I thought it would be good to talk about again, because you're absolutely right. It's the negatives, especially, I think, are fantastic, because that's really ultimately what an amateur career is supposed to be, right? You're essentially a hobbyist. Do you want to take the leap to pro? Well, if you've got all the good things and the bad things have happened, you've had those experiences, you can then make like an informed decision. Am I ready to be a pro, or do I want to fuck this whole thing off? Like, is this not for me?
For sure. And, you know, we talked, I don't know if this makes too much sense in relation, but we talked about matching. You know, like I could get you a pro fight tomorrow where you'll win. And I can get you an amateur fight tomorrow that you'll lose. So it's kind of like, you know, guys need a certain amount of guidance. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to get thrown into, you know, to the wolves and hurt. But, you know, what are you trying to achieve from it? And that's where I was going with that.
Just the differences.
But matching, you know, like it matters for matching as well. Like some guys are taking it serious, some guys are not. I've had pro fights where I never trained and I fought the best in Europe and it was good. And I had fights where I trained a lot and it was bad.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, you know, I think the big thing what I wanted to get around is, not that anyone listens to me, is like informed consent. You know what I mean? What I mean by that is like the risk that you might have sparring or fighting where, you know, it could be bad. You know, you could get hurt. And as long as you understand that, then whatever it is you're looking for.
That's it. Yeah, you should be aware, because I think you're right. There's a load of like a bit of a lack of knowledge around like the CTE thing, and like the head trauma stuff is a big factor, right?
For sure.
And it is one that I think you do have to fully understand and weigh up the risks, like the hard sparring versus the light sparring conversation, that sort of thing, right?
And, you know, I said that because if you're looking to just go amateur, you still need to be looked after in the sense that I can match you with a killer and you still get knocked out. It's like, would you feel better? Or, you know, do you have a pro fight against someone that's your level? You know, so you need to be careful with that as well. But, you know, yeah, well, I said I think guys should fight pro.
Just do it.
Just be matched correctly, you know?
Yeah.
But, because it goes back to the money thing as well, and promoters aren't going to like it, but like guys need to get paid. And the way you get paid is by bringing attention and being busy, and that's it. And that'll help, I think, you know.
And I suppose, I don't know how much a difference it makes, but that the addition of those few rules, it's not that different, is it? You just have to be slightly more aware of like this other element. But
exactly. And I think even those elements aren't inherently more dangerous. Like, for example, you know, you don't elbow in the face in amateur, but you get elbowed in the face, you probably get cut, and that's it. Maybe the fight's ended, maybe it's not. You don't see a ton of guys get knocked out by elbows. So what are we protecting these amateur guys from? Getting cut. You know, all the other bad stuff is there. You can get knocked out. You can get your arms and legs broke. You can, you know, you can get slammed on your head. So like, I don't know. Unless there's like a real clear infrastructure of amateur that leads to something, you know, I think, just enjoy it and get paid.
Do it. What's the point? Yeah.
That's it.
You're right. Travel, get some money.
That's it.
Like,
you know,
live life. Enjoy it.
The money and the miles. Like, at the end of the day, you make a ton of money. Did you get to see some stuff?
Yeah.
And if you didn't, then well, what are we doing this for? But
yeah. It is it's a tough one. I rattle around my head quite a lot as well, but I think that's a nice perspective on it.
Yeah, but what fight are you going to do next time?
I don't know. The problem is I don't take it seriously enough that I always end up taking like some short notice thing or something I'm definitely not qualified for. But like it, have a go.
But, you know, maybe look in March or something.
Yeah.
Get my boy on.
That's it. Yeah.
Pay him, man.
Yeah. If anyone wants to throw some money at me or fly me somewhere nice, I'm in. I'll do whatever you want.
Whoa.
yeah. Not whatever. Yeah. There is a limit.
Buy porta potty, bro.
Yeah. Well, I really appreciate your time. I know I'm in awe about fights anyway, but hopefully we see you back and making that run at the Bareknuckle World Champion. We'll have you back on once you've got a nice shiny belt for us. But I really appreciate that. Where's the best place for people to follow you and support you in that run up?
I'm on the whole thing, Facebook, Instagram. I'm trying to do TikTok, even though I'm too old for it. But the people get paid from TikTok, so please follow my TikTok.
Yeah, fuck it, do it.
Yeah,
I mean, I'll put everything in the link in whatever platform people are listening to. It will be there anyway. But yeah, Dan, I really appreciate it.
Thank you, bro.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for listening. I hope you guys enjoyed that. Please don't forget to support Dan. As said, I've put all of his links in the description below on whatever platform it is that you're listening to. And don't forget to support the podcast as well while you're at it, at CWAMA Podcast on all platforms. Give Dan a follow as a thank you for his time. Support him in his upcoming ventures and keep an eye on him. You never know when his next fight will be. Until the next time, thank you for listening, and I'll see you on the next one.